welcome back. This is Kimberly. You'll see I have here a completed cheese, I guess you could call it a block, a completed cheese block that actually has taken a total of almost 72 hours to make. So I'm just taking this cheese out of the bag that it was in, out of the cheesecloth it was in. What I do have to do as I'm taking it out is rip it into little pieces just so that it can fit. This is what it looks like. This is raw goat cheese made with nothing else other than goat's milk and cheese hardener here, which I have. And that was courtesy of Mom that brought that for me because she brought it over and got it from, I believe, the farmer's market. So in terms of the process for making cheese, it's actually pretty simple. It does take quite a bit of time. Like I said, it's probably been about 72 hours, but it's not difficult. It just takes some waiting and takes some time. So I started out with goat's milk. That was precisely 8 of these, which is 2 liters. I'll leave the measurements in the description down below. So about 2 liters of milk, and as you can see from the process at the beginning, you want to make sure that your milk is all in one pot, and you are going to heat it until it is about room temperature. You want to make sure it's just comfortable enough or warm enough that you can stick your pinky in it, and it's fine. So those of you who have kids or who know what it's like to heat up a baby bottle, that's kind of what you want to do with the milk. Make sure it's warm enough. Reason being, you need it to be heated. Once it is warm, you're going to take it off the stove and you're going to put the cheese hardener in it. Now I use 1 teaspoon of cheese hardener with the amount of milk that I had. So that's what you want to do. You want to use 1 teaspoon for every 2 liters. So if you're making 4 liters, you're going to use 2 teaspoons of cheese hardener and so on and so forth. That's pretty simple math. It's not hard. Once you have done that, once you've put the cheese hardener in it, you're going to want to stir it. Mom says you want to stir it for about 2 minutes, which I found works very well. So stir for about 2 minutes, and then you want to leave it for about 8 hours. Now this depends on how warm your house is. So I leave it, our house is between 20 and 23, depending on what time of day it is and how many fires we have going at the moment. But our house is between 20 and 23. I leave it for about 8 hours, which oftentimes means overnight, in the same pot, and you just let the milk sit there with the cheese hardener in it after you've stirred it, and you can leave it be for 8 hours. Once you come back to the pot of milk, you'll find that a lot of it has hardened. Now, I will usually ask Andre for help at this point, just because we don't have a cheesecloth that's going to stretch all the way over the pot. But as you can see from the process, you're going to want to pour the milk, now hardened into somewhat of a harder substance. You're going to want to pour that out of the pot and into a cheesecloth, which is this right here. Obviously this one is a used one, but you're going to want to pour it out into that cheesecloth. Make sure that you have a bucket or a bowl or some sort of significant catchment underneath, because you want to make sure that you have that for everything as it drains. Because all of that moisture and all of that milk, which is really what it is, all of that milk has to drain out so that you're left with the drier substance that becomes your cheese. Once you've poured it out, you're going to want to hang it. Now this part of the hanging, or this part of the process rather, the hanging part, takes about, I would say, anywhere from 24 to 36 hours. Again, it depends on where you hang it. It depends on the humidity and the temperature of your house. In our house, like I said, we're between 20 and 23 degrees Celsius, and it usually takes about 24 to 30 hours, just depending on how much milk I make. So I hang it downstairs in our basement. I just hang it out of the way, and I make sure that I have a bucket underneath because it's obviously dripping from the cheese that's there. That material, by the way, or that substance, is called whey, and it's actually very healthy for you to drink, to put in smoothies. It's really great for your skin, really great for your nails, and I've heard it's really good for your hair too. So that's something that you can either save, or you can give it to your animals, or you can do lots of things with whey. You can cook with it, bake with it, etc. But what you will end up with, the end result, once we finish draining it, you'll end up with the cheese. Now there's one final part of the process after you have let it drain. You're going to want to put it under pressure. As you can see, we use our kitchen sink for the time being, and we put it under, or in between 2 cutting boards, and then we'll put a heavy thing of water or liquid or something over top of it. All that does is put pressure on the cheese just to squeeze out the final bit of moisture, because the whole point of cheese is that it's drier. The wetter your cheese is, the more difficult it's going to be to eat. And it's just not going to taste very good. So what you will end up with, and we'll usually leave it in the sink for about 12 hours, so that's like an overnight process again. And then what you end up with is what you saw me taking out of the cheesecloth. And it's really good. It's super healthy for you. I will say, as somebody who is lactose intolerant, I've always had a sensitivity to dairy. Ice cream was always a no-go for me. Cheese was always a no-go. Yogurt, everything. I can eat this stuff like candy, and it doesn't affect me. I don't eat it like candy because, as you can see, it takes a while to make. So we use this for pizza and on our eggs and things like that. So I don't get to eat it like candy, but I wish I could eat it like candy. It's good enough that you can. It's definitely healthier for you. And all this is like goat's milk and cheese hardener. That's it. So it's very simple. Like I said, it does take time to do, but the actual waiting part of the process, you can obviously hang it out of the way or put it out of the way, and you don't have to spend a whole lot of time. The total amount of time and investment that I've spent, and this is only my second time making cheese myself, is probably about 20 minutes altogether, with moving things and hanging things and putting it in the cheesecloth, taking it out. It's a very simple process. Most of your process of making the cheese is just waiting. One more thing that I wanted to just warn you guys of. Depending on what kind of milk you're using, you can do this with anything that you get from the store. If you wanted to make cheese out of cow's milk, you could. Goat's milk cheese is definitely better, speaking from experience. But depending on what you're using, if you're using raw milk, I would suggest that you keep it in something that is not plastic. So what we do is, like I mentioned, I use 2 liters, and I'll make 2 liters at a time. What I will do is I will put them in glass jars. If you're going to be saving your milk and making cheese from scratch, you want to make sure that you're saving it correctly. What I will do is put it in a glass jar and put it in the freezer. Like I said, depending on what kind of milk you are using, you may just be okay to leave it in the fridge. However, because we're using straight raw goat's milk, it doesn't have any preservatives or anything in it, any chemicals that are going to make it last longer. So I will, once one of these jars is full, which we usually get about 2 a day, I'll put them in the freezer. And the night before I'm about to make cheese, I will take them out and just put them in our sink so that it can thaw out, and then I have them there. But freezing it preserves the goodness or the nutrients in the milk, and stops it from going bad, because if it's longer than 4 or 5 days in the fridge, it starts to turn a little bit. So just a word of advice, and I would say that for any liquid or any milk, don't keep it in something plastic. Keep it in something that's glass, or something that's not going to be absorbing, because plastic especially will break down over time. That being said, that's my cheese process. It's only my second time making it, but it's really good, and I really like it, and it's super healthy, especially for people who are lactose intolerant. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.